Hey everyone, and welcome to RUBIN'S Mind Lab, where we break down the latest research into what it really means. Ever wonder why sometimes you feel totally overwhelmed by other people's feelings, and other times you feel a bit disconnected? It might not be about how much empathy you have, but about the balance between understanding how someone feels and actually feeling it yourself. This new study digs into that exact idea. So what is this empathic disequilibrium they're talking about? Imagine empathy is like a seesaw. On one side, you have cognitive empathy, that is understanding someone's emotions with your head, like figuring out why they're upset. On the other side, you have emotional empathy, that is feeling what they feel. Like getting sad when they're sad, empathic disequilibrium happens when one side of that seesaw is much heavier than the other. Maybe you understand someone's feelings really well, but don't feel them yourself, or vice versa. The researchers found this imbalance is super common and can be linked to different mental health conditions, even when someone isn't scoring low on empathy overall. But here is a big question. Can we fix this imbalance? This is where mindfulness meditation comes in. That practice of focusing on your breath and being present. We often hear mindfulness helps with stress and anxiety. But could it also help balance our empathy? The researchers thought, what if this empathic imbalance is like emotion dysregulation in social situations? And they remembered that mindfulness is known to help with emotional reactivity. So they thought maybe if we can reduce emotional reactivity through mindfulness, we can also reduce this empathic disequilibrium. Their plan was pretty neat. They got over 150 psychology students and split them into two groups. One group, the experimental group, did 10 minutes of guided mindfulness meditation every day for 10 days. Think of it like a mini mindfulness boot camp. The other group, the control group, did something different. They learned about emotion regulation strategies and rated their moods daily. This way, they wanted to see if it was specifically the mindfulness training that made a difference, not just doing something daily. Before and after the 10 days, everyone filled out questionnaires. They measured their empathic disequilibrium, that seesaw balance we talked about, and their emotional reactivity. Basically, how intensely they felt and how long their emotions lasted. And here is where it gets interesting. The mindfulness group, after just 10 days, showed a significant drop in their empathic disequilibrium. It wasn't just a little bit, their seesaw became more balanced. This means they moved closer to having a more equal blend of understanding emotions and feeling them. Now, remember our second hypothesis. They thought that this balancing of empathy would happen because mindfulness reduces emotional reactivity. And guess what? The mindfulness group did show reduced emotional reactivity. But, and this is a big but, when they looked closer, the reduction in empathic disequilibrium wasn't actually caused by the drop in emotional reactivity. It was like the mindfulness was helping both things, but they weren't directly linked in the way the researchers expected. So why is this a big deal? Well, it is the first time researchers have shown that this empathic disequilibrium, this imbalance in our emotional and cognitive empathy, can actually be changed with a simple short intervention. And they did it in everyday students, not just people with diagnosed conditions. This opens the door to the idea that this imbalance, which is linked to so many different mental health challenges, might be something we can work on. The fact that just 10 minutes a day for 10 days made a difference is pretty powerful. It suggests that even brief mindfulness practices might help us navigate our social world a bit more smoothly. It doesn't necessarily mean we need to fix our empathy, but for those who find this imbalance distressing, it offers a potential pathway to feeling more balanced. The surprise, though, was the mediation part. They really thought that reducing emotional reactivity would be the key to balancing empathy. But it seems the story is more complex. While mindfulness helped lower both reactivity and disequilibrium, they weren't directly causing each other in this study. This suggests there might be other, perhaps deeper, mechanisms at play. What could those mechanisms be? The researchers speculated might have to do with how different parts of our brain talk to each other. When we're empathizing, our brains use areas for feeling emotions and areas for thinking about things. Mindfulness might be helping these brain areas work together more smoothly, like a well-coordinated team, rather than just turning down the volume on our emotional reactions. Another idea is something called interoceptive awareness. This is basically our ability to sense what is going on inside our own body, our heart rate, our gut feelings, all those internal signals. Mindfulness training has been shown to boost this, and this internal awareness might help us tell the difference between our own feelings and someone else's, which could be crucial for that empathy balance. They also mentioned oxytocin, the bonding hormone. Previous work from their team even linked lower oxytocin levels to empathic disequilibrium. Since mindfulness might influence oxytocin, this could be another piece of the puzzle. suggesting a biological link to how mindfulness impacts our social-emotional processing. Now, it is important to talk about the limitations of any study, and this one is no different. Since participants chose which group to join, it wasn't a perfect randomized experiment. They did their best to account for this with fancy statistical methods. But true randomization would make the results even stronger. Also, they only measured things before and after, so they can't say for sure exactly how the changes happened over time. Just that they did. And like many studies, it relied on what people reported about themselves, which can sometimes be a bit biased. Also, the students were a pretty similar group of people, mostly from Israel and all psychology students. So we need to be careful about assuming these results will be the same for everyone, everywhere. Future studies need to look at more diverse groups of people to see if this works for them too. And of course, they only looked at the short-term effects. We don't know if this balanced empathy lasts for months or years. And a really important point from the authors themselves. Just because we can change this empathic disequilibrium doesn't mean it is always a bad thing. They argue that it is a normal variation in how people process emotions, and its problematic nature really depends on the situation and how intense it is. So, this research is more about showing flexibility and offering a tool for those who find their imbalance distressing, not about saying everyone needs to be more balanced. In a nutshell, this research is exciting because it shows a short mindfulness intervention can help balance our understanding and feeling of others' emotions, while the exact how it works is still a bit of a mystery, and likely involves more than just reduced emotional reactivity. It gives us a new tool and a new way to think about how we connect with each other. It is a great starting point for understanding and maybe even improving our interpersonal experiences. What do you all think? Have you ever felt that empathy seesaw tipping one way or the other? Let me know in the comments below. If you found this breakdown helpful, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to RUBIN'S Mind Lab for more fascinating science. Well, see you next time.